Since then, I've had many, many confirmations, thousands of confirmations that my experience is real, and that that our soul and my experience is eternal, and our existence is eternal, and all of our little fence building and logic building that we put around things here in the physical realm, they tend to limit us quite a bit. And I hope that if anything connects to you through my experience, that it helps you step out of the norm, step out of the fences and borders we put on everything here in the physical realm, and understand that you are eternal, and that there's so much more to you and each and every one of us. And there's divine love built into this system that puts us here. And sometimes we forget because we have the amnesia of mortality. We have the amnesia of coming here. My experience starts back in 2003. I did actually pass away in 2003. It starts with me and a buddy of mine. We had taken a supplement that was unfortunately toxic for our bodies, and this supplement, it actually um, it ended up uh, it ended up poisoning us to a point where as soon as we started to feel that it was hurting us, we decided we were going to go get something to eat. So we went down to a restaurant down the street to get something to eat, and there I made it into the bathroom and locked the door. He made it into the restaurant and collapsed on one of the dining booths, and there he began to vomit, and they hauled him away in an ambulance. But for me, I passed out and fell on my back, and while I was on my back, I also vomited. And unfortunately, when you vomit and you're on your back, you suffocate. And so I suffocated. I drowned in my own vomit. And from there, the next thing I remember is I was plunged into a cool electric feeling, this very flowing, cool feeling. And I started to see an image start to form in front of me, and what I was seeing was the view of this restaurant from above. And I could actually see everything that was going on in this restaurant. And it didn't dawn on me that what I was looking at was potentially me down there on the ground, because me was up here watching what was going on there. So it didn't even dawn on me for a second. And I'm looking at this dead body, and it's on the ground. It doesn't look human anymore. It started to look very, very weird. The skin had actually started to turn purple and yellow, and the neck had actually gotten very swollen, and it was swollen past the jawline, so it didn't look like me. I had no reckoning at all that that was me. So I'm watching this happen, and I noticed that nobody knows this guy is dead there. And I also noticed that one of the guests in the restaurant, he kept trying to use the restroom and open that door, that locked door. Finally, he went to the manager and got the manager to open that door. And when they did, they discovered a dead body on the ground. They called an ambulance. The ambulance showed up. They pronounced the body as dead. They put the body in a body bag and began to take the body away from the scene. While they did, a brand new medic, a brand new guy, it was his first week on the job. He was sitting there looking at the body and feeling bad, wishing he could have done more. And and I watched this light start to form. It literally started to form around the area of his heart, and he started to physically glow, like where light was coming from inside of him around his heart area. And as I was watching this happen, this force, this very strong force, went over my left shoulder where I was, and I heard a very, very loud voice say, "This one's not dead." And that medic, he looked around. He thought that maybe somebody was playing a joke. He kind of shrugged it off, and then that light, it started to grow, and it grew bigger than just around his heart. It started to expand and all the way to his waist and to above his head. And this light got very bright. And then I heard for a second time, "This one's not dead." And that second time he heard it so strong, he couldn't deny it. He decided he was going to take action. So, unbeknownst to the other medics in the front of the ambulance, this rookie medic, he unzips the body bag. He undoes some straps. He starts feeling around the body for a pulse. He doesn't feel a pulse. So he undoes more straps, and he opens the body bag even further, and he goes on the inside of the leg, looking for a pulse, down on one of the big arteries there. And as he was pushing to trying to find that artery, he made contact with the femur bone. And when he made contact with the femur bone, I actually felt a spark, like a shock, where I was, and I knew he felt it too. It was as if his contact with that femur bone ignited a shock between the two of us. I knew he felt it. I knew I felt it. And it was very odd to me. I didn't know what was going on. I was trying to just understand all of this. And as he went forward, as soon as he felt that shock, he felt there must be something there. So he decided, I'm going to try to resuscitate this guy. So he went through and started to attempt the resuscitation. He tried to get oxygen into the lungs. He put on these pads on the body to start shocking the body. And when he did that, he hit the alarm on this defibrillator, the machine that shocks the body. And when it does, it makes this alarm for a few seconds, and then it shocks the body. And when he did that, the other two medics discovered what he was doing, and they started chewing him out, trying to stop him. Well, he went ahead and let the shock happen. Then he went for a second round. On the second round, he got one heartbeat, and then it was flatline again, no heartbeat after just one. So we went for a third round of shocking, and at the third round of shocking, he actually got a steady heartbeat. At this point, the body had been dead at least bare minimum 45 minutes. It could have been well over 2 hours from the time that I had asphyxiated or suffocated to the time that the heart started. So that alone was a miracle. And the other miracle to this is when they got the heart started, they were only 1 block away from a hospital. So they were able to turn me right into the hospital. And still at this point, I didn't know what was going on. I didn't know what I was watching was me. As they transferred the body into the hospital bed, the body started going into all these seizures and foaming at the mouth, a lot of stuff coming out of the body all over. And as they were doing that, they decided they needed to restrain the body so that they could work on it. So they put these straps, these restraints on the legs. They put them on the arms. As they were strapping them down, they went to the left arm, and as they strapped the left arm, they pulled it down, and I looked down where I was because I felt someone pulling my arm where I was. And I looked down to see who was pulling on my arm, and I actually was looking at the arm of the body. I realized that everything I've been watching this to see and feel and understand all the bad things I'd ever done in my life, and the impact that those bad things had done. And um, then all of a sudden I start to feel this warmth starting from behind me. This warmth, it started to warm me from behind, and this warmth, it started to help me see all the good things that I had done in my life and all the good impacts that I had made. And so I started to realize that there was this force behind me, this warmth behind me. And so I turned to see what this was behind me, and I see this gentleman. I see this man. He's all dressed in white. He's got a white suit on and white robes, and he's got white beard and white long hair. But he has very, very pink skin. His skin's very pink, and I noticed that his skin glistened, that there was light coming from inside of him, that he himself was emitting or sending light to me. And um and I, I automatically thought this must be God. And the second I thought that, he shook his head and said, "No, son, I'm not God." Thought is, well, he must be Jesus then. You must be Jesus. And he kind of shook his head and said, "No, son, I'm not Jesus either. I'm here as your guide or your escort, and I'm here only to help you go where you want to go." And it was really this beautiful feeling of love that he was sending me to help me understand that he was there only to help me and only to help me go wherever I wanted to go. And he gave me these two options. He said, we can either go back to where you just came from your body, or we can go and see what's next for you, see what's next in your progress of life. And I said, absolutely, I don't want to go back to the body. That looks horrible. That looks painful. And not even for a moment did I even think I wanted that, because it looked horrible. I said, I want to go with you. Wherever that is, I want to go with you. And so he said, okay, we're going to go on a journey. And this journey, it's not just a journey from a point to a different point. It's a journey of moving from one point in existence to another point, but to a higher understanding and a higher knowledge and a higher frequency. He used the word frequency with me because I understood it really well. And he said, we must raise your frequency to get you ready so that you can exist there, you can be there. And so we began this journey. And this journey, he taught me many, many principles. Primarily, I break it down to about 10 major principles he taught me for me to raise my understanding and raise my frequency. Particularly for me, someone who was raised Christian and raised very strict Christian my whole life. As a kid up until this point, um, I thought that I had a secret back door into heaven. I thought that I had some fast way to get into heaven, and he helped me understand that I didn't. That yes, there was a lot of eternal truths in Christianity and beautiful parts of God and in Christianity, but I needed to still get beyond the teachings of man, and I had to understand the teachings of God. And the teachings of God are eternal and larger than only one religion, and larger than existence even on earth. That these are eternal principles, and that they go beyond just the existence on earth. And so I did. I started my journey. It's the first principle I had to learn was how to be authentic, how to be the same person no matter where I go. And my guide, his name was Drake. He said his name was Drake. Um, Drake showed me that some of the most authentic people on our earth are the very young children or the very old. And because when you're really young and when you're really old, you're not trying to be something that you're not. You're very authentic with how you are. And he explained that that's how we should be our whole life. Is we should always be authentic our entire life. And sometimes that does make us vulnerable, but we grow in our vulnerable moments, and we grow in our authentic moments. And when we're not authentic, we're not growing. And so he helped me understand that. That was the first principle. Next, he helped me understand that there is a purpose to the life on earth. That life on earth is a classroom and not a courtroom. There's no judge on high that's going to smack his gavel down and send you one direction or another. We are the judge and jury ourselves. That we get to use this earth life as a classroom to grow and to learn, and we get to go only as far as we feel we are able to, and we feel is just. And then from there, God gives us grace and takes us even further. But it is, again, not a courtroom, but a classroom. And we're able to learn so much once we begin to understand that, embody that. And then he started to help me understand that love is the purpose we're here, is to learn how to love, learn how to build love, create love, share love, and more importantly, feel love, to actually experience love. And that we must love everyone, no matter the race, the religion, the culture, the lifestyle, what car they drive, what political party they are. We must love everyone, all beings, and even animals. We must love, and trees, and all of life's forms on the planet. We must love in their own right. We must love them all. And he helped me understand that the next principle of all of us on earth have an inner connection to God. almost like a spiritual or soul umbilical cord where we're connected directly to God. And through that umbilical cord, there is connection and communication. And sometimes we call it an inner voice. Sometimes we call it um, instinct, or um, we sometimes we think it's a pulling force inside of us, or a just something that we know. And it's through that inner voice, that inner connection with God, that our conscience essentially, we can really connect to God, and we can really build and foster a strong communication and connection there. But to do that, we have to do principle 5, which is use technology responsibly. We have to be able to understand the power of technology, how it can foster great growth in us, but it can also foster great imprisonment and great enslavement to us. So we must foster and learn to use technology responsibly. And as we do that, we need to release prejudice and not put prejudice on anyone, even prejudiced people. And I learned that I thought I was the least prejudiced person I ever knew, but I realized that I actually had prejudice for prejudiced people. And so I myself was joining the prejudiced people with my belief that I didn't like prejudiced people. So it was important for me to understand that I needed to release all prejudice. And then that brought me to my 7th principle, which is exercise the power of creation. That every day we get to create, every hour we get to create. And it starts with our thoughts. Our thoughts are our most powerful things that we can create with. And the way that works is our thoughts literally become our actions become our habits end up becoming our character, and then our character becomes our destiny. It literally dictates where we go in our life. It begins again with our thoughts, though. So depending what we allow ourselves to think will essentially, in the long run, will direct where we go in our life and the experiences we will have. So it's very important to understand the power of creation. That was and mastering your thoughts. And then the 8th principle I was taught was avoiding negative influences. And in this, I was expressed as also I was learning about technology, that avoiding negative influences, all of us have an hour of power. That's the half hour before we go to bed and the half hour when we first wake up. And what we put in our hour of power, it will tell us who we are and who we are looking like we're worshiping. And what we put in our hour of power is almost like a religion to us, because that is a sacred hour. And we can put God there. We can put a connection with God through prayer, through meditation, through connection, through subtle sitting in nature, walking through nature, or just having positive thoughts with God. We can build and foster a very strong connection there in our hour of power. Or on the other side, we can enslave ourselves to the news, to sports, to entertainment, any of these streaming services. We can really enslave ourselves. The first thing we wake up, we watch entertainment, we're enslaving ourselves to it. We're worshiping our entertainment. So it's really important for us to, avoid negative influences and consciously choose to program or put good things in our hour of power in that 30 minutes before bed and 30 minutes when we wake up. And then that brought me to the 9th principle, is that to understand that there is purpose even in evil. That if God created the ladder of Jacob in the Bible, Jacob's ladder, that at the very top where God resides, at the very bottom there's the devil or Satan. That if God created the ladder, there is purpose to both. There is function to the bottom of the ladder as there is function to the top of the ladder. And it's important for us to understand that there must be that opposition. There must be that weight or resistance to our agency to help us understand that we have power with our thoughts and with our choices. And so there is purpose even to evil. And then the 10th principle was to know that as humanity and as spirits, as souls, we are all one. That we are all different fingers on one hand. Every single one of us are different fingers on God's hand. And for us to hate or harm another is to only hate or harm ourselves. That we inherently are only hurting ourselves when we hurt others. And it's important for us to embody and understand that. And once we do, we live very differently. We don't go around judging and hurting others because we know it does only judge and hurt us. And I was taught the principle of the pointed finger, where when we point our finger, we're pointing blame at one person. At the same time, we're pointing blame up towards God. So we're blaming God and that person the same, but turn around the hand and you see three fingers pointing back at yourself. So whatever blame you're putting on God and that person, you're putting three times that blame back on your own heart, back on who you are. And so the only thing we're doing when we point blame and hurt towards others is we're taking blame and hurt three times stronger back on us energetically. And it's only going to hurt us to put blame on others, only going to hurt us. So it's important for us to understand these principles. And I learned these 10 primary principles as I made my progression over to heaven. And I did get to heaven. I got to actually experience heaven and see the amazing colors and beauty of the grass, the light that comes from everything. There's no external sun there. The light actually comes from within of everything, and it comes from within of creation, all creation there. And I got to experience the beautiful trees, the waters, the flowers. I even got to see this big building, which I was taught was a university of type places where souls can go and learn any knowledge they want to learn without the perversions of man, without the influence of man. They can learn absolute and eternal truth at this university. And I got to just really experience and embody the amount of love that is built into this universe. If we had any idea how much love is there in this system that all of us are in, we would live completely different every single day of our lives. That we are the cream of the crop. We are the divine masterwork of the Creator, that the Creator created us so that we could learn and grow and expand and become higher beings ourselves, embodying love even better as we go. And as I was having this whole experience, my guide Drake brought me forward and said, "Vinny, this is going to hurt, but it's going to be worth it." And he gave me this hug. As he gave me this hug, we came together and had the most supreme and beautiful moment where I felt eternal love. I felt the true value of our soul, of the soul of all of us. I felt the eternal importance of every single being on planet Earth. And as I was feeling all of this tremendous, tremendous love, I then began to hear the words of my brother as he was giving my body a blessing, a prayer. He was giving a special prayer over my body in the hospital. Now, fast forward, I've been in the hospital brain dead for 3 days at this moment. And my brother was saying a special prayer over my body to make me whole and to bring me back. And as he did that, as he closed on that prayer saying amen, I felt a pull, a thrust that forced me back into my body. And and that was my experience. I woke up 3 days later after being brain dead, after being revived from being dead, and I was fine. I was absolutely fine. I went jogging that same day. It took me a long time to get checked out of the hospital. They made me sign all sorts of paperwork and take so many tests before they would let me out. Literally about 6 hours of tests before they would let me out of the hospital, but they did let me out, and no real residual problems since then, other than I've had some problems with some dental because I did go through quite a few seizures in as they brought the body back. So I had a lot of fractured teeth, and I have a little bit of an electrolyte imbalance that's inherent to some people that have had these experiences. But other than that, no other problems, no neurological damage perceived, none that we can perceive. And I feel extremely blessed, and I feel that I did have a miracle in God allowing me to come back. But at the same time, I felt kind of cursed because I got to see what was really there for all of us. I got to see the real existence. And yes, that existence is the real existence. We lived for an eternity before this, and we will live for an eternity after this. So we are infinite beings ourselves, and we are making this little stop on earth for a short little 800, 80 or 100 years. And it's really a pit stop. It's very short in the eternal scheme of things, but it's so that we can learn, because it is a classroom. We're here to learn. We're here to grow. We're here to foster and learn how to love and how to experience and express love. Absolutely divine. Later, a few months later, I was at a family reunion in this little town of Wyoming, and I saw this presentation about the founders of the town. And up on the presentation, I see a picture, and it's my guide. It's my guide Drake, and I recognize him. I know it's him instantly. And come to find out, he ends up being my great 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 grandfather on my grandmother's side, someone I had never seen, someone I had never heard his name once in my life, and come to find out, he had been my guide the whole time. And since then, I've had many confirmations, thousands of confirmations that my experience is real, and that that our soul and my experience is eternal, and our existence is eternal, and all of our little fence building and logic building that we put around things here in the physical realm, they tend to limit us quite a bit. And I hope that if anything connects to you through my experience, that it helps you step out of the norm, step out of the fences and borders we put on everything here in the physical realm, and understand that you are eternal, and that there's so much more to you and at each and every one of us. And there's divine love built into this system that puts us here. And sometimes we forget because we have the amnesia of mortality. We have the amnesia of coming here. But when we connect to God, honoring our hour of power, we can foster that strong relationship with our Creator so that we can understand our true purpose, understand our true destiny. So my friend, they ended up taking him to the hospital. They pumped his stomach, and they actually released him the next morning. So this all happened on a Saturday morning, and they released him on a Sunday morning. So the very next day, yeah, he was fine. In fact, he now works in the supplement industry, relations specialist and an executive. So he's really taken on kind of a life path, because not just because of the experience, but before the experience too. But he's very big into natural, getting the best natural supplements out there for our bodies. Yeah, so it's pretty cool that he is in that industry now. Myself entering through the crown, I felt it. I actually felt myself entering through the crown, but I felt that the anchoring, like where I was anchored to the body, was near the navel area or just below the heart.
Mhm.
Um, but the heart is really like the core of who we are, and it's funny that that's kind of the core of who we are in the physical form. But on our energetic body, it's also our core, is the heart area. And as a spirit body, or as our soul body, because as a soul we actually have a body. It for me, it looked like my physical body here. The only difference is it was much taller, much bigger, just about 4 times bigger than my physical self here, is what I look like in the spiritual form. And I realized that our spirit, our soul, is much larger than what we are here. Um, because we are at such a high frequency there, though, they have to compact that spirit or soul into these physical bodies. I think that's probably why we have to be babies before we come. Otherwise we'd be pissed off. I was kind of pissed off right when I first came back because I was extremely claustrophobic. I was really angry that I couldn't go back. I wanted to go back so bad, and it was only I was pretty suicidal for the first couple of months until I met my wife. Once I met her, I literally saw heaven's light, like the light I experienced in heaven. I would see that in her eyes and in what she would say to me. And that's when I realized that heaven is here as well. The same way that we are there in heaven, heaven is here. It's up to us to build that connection with God so we can discover heaven here. Because it is here. If we really look, we really search, we can find heaven here. So I here's the thing, I didn't see the image of them, but I knew them both through the experience.
Mhm.
So I knew, and inherently I knew. Now I don't put this in the book, and the reason why I don't put this in the book is because in the book I don't want any specific religion to feel like they can't read the book, right? But I felt that the way that I was able to move from earth to heaven, the highway, the energy that allowed that movement was Christ. And 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 Christ is the one who fostered, or not fostered, but facilitated the ability for us to go to heaven. Otherwise, we wouldn't be able to have this journey like we're having. So Christ, or the Christ consciousness, is the path, the path for all of us to be able to connect to God or to heaven. And I felt God there because God was in everything. God was in Drake, my guy. God was in the grass. God was in the water, in the flowers, in the trees,
Mhm.
even in this little bee that I saw. Like God was in everything. God was even in the building of the university. Like God was present everywhere, and you just knew it. And you there was no denying it. Like God's energy was there, and the whole existence, it was God. That also was how I realized that when people refer to God as the Allah, or the everything, they're correct. But also when they say he is the creator and the originator, they're correct. And God is the expander, the big boom. Yes, they're correct. All of them are correct. It's just funny because all these different people with fences in between them, they're all talking about the same thing. They're all just looking at it from a different perspective. The most important thing that I can tell your viewers is that you are important to God, to the creator. That how you are right now, exactly how you are, is important to God, very valuable to God. That God's not up there wanting us to be something that we're not. God loves us how we are, exactly how we are. And God wants a connection to us. So it's important for us to reach out to the Creator and to build that connection so that we can embody God in and be our authentic, flamboyant self. We can be ourself, who we are, and really embody the love of God, and live a life of legacy of love, and really share that love with all those around us, who we work with, who our family is, um, and people of all political parties. That we need to learn how to love all of them, all people, and beyond that, all beings on this planet. As we begin to love them all, we will really embody the love of the Creator, because the Creator loves us so much. He loves us so much. We have no idea how much energy was put into creating us and creating this existence for us to grow. And again, the last thing I'd love to say is life is not a courtroom, it's a classroom. Many years people have kind of harassed me that they wanted my story in a book. So I have finally put it in a book for people. It's called The Light After Death. They can find it on Kindle, Audible, and Amazon. Also, I have a website, if people want to reach out and learn more about my experience. I also do coaching at the light at, or actually livinggodslight.com. That's living.